Hey, how are you? I wanted to start this video by reading something that I found by a research group. Uh, just follow through with me, it's going to be worth it. Regardless of the measure used for comparing levels of GDP and economic growth, the difference in prosperity between the EU and the US has grown substantially. I think everyone agrees with that. Everyone sees that, like in the 2000s, for example, or in the 1990s, especially Western Europe, was pretty much on par with the US, like maybe a little bit below on average, but like Germany, France, Italy were formidable countries willing to like put up a fair fight in terms of quality of life with the US, in terms of wealth with the US. Now, this second part of what I'm about to read is what shocked me. If the trend continues, the prosperity gap between the average American and the average European in 2035, so in 10 years from now, will be as big, as large as between the average European and the average Indian today. So like I don't know if you've ever been to India. I've never been to India. Hope to go soon. But like the difference between India and Europe, from everything I've ever heard about, from everything I've ever known, is huge, like gigantic. And this widespread gap will be the same as the one between like the EU and America. That doesn't mean uh, that doesn't mean that it's crazy. It's just crazy. Like imagine America, the average American. Imagine the average difference between the Americans and the Europeans being the same as the average difference between the Europeans and the Indians. It's insane. It's crazy. And Europe really has to do something about it. And if you go to Italy and you talk to people, um, you're gonna notice that salaries they haven't grown in the last 30 years. And I don't mean like fancy if you do the calculation according to cost of living, according to house prices. No, just nominally. Like a good salary in 1990 was 2,000 euros, and then what, or the equivalent in liras. And a good salary in 2025 is 2,000 euros. It's like crazy. It's like they haven't developed at all. And it was such a formidable country. Like Italy was like top notch. Like you had the best football in the 1990s with Milan, with that I mean the 1980s Maradona played in Italy, right? So like it had the best football, it had the best quality of life, and Italy was just a dream. You could live in a country with like good weather, near the mountains, go skiing, go to the beach, see the Roman ruins, everything, and still like make a very, very good salary, on par with most of the other top tier European countries. Look, look what Italy has become now, you know. The UK. The UK has always been richer than Ireland, for example, and now it's poorer than Ireland, even on a minimum wage basis. And then a GDP per capita, it's like insane. Ireland is almost double, even though it's inflated, it's still like insanely higher up. Uh, and if you travel a lot, you're gonna see that like the Europeans they travel, yeah, but they travel on a budget. Like they can still make some money back home, but it's not the same. Where it's like uh Americans traveling on a budget, it's just like on a whole other level of like luxury. For example, if an American goes to like Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe, like it's a whole other level of luxury compared to like the average German or the average French or the average Italian going there. And it's truly astounding because not only is the gap between the EU or Europe in general and the US going to grow, but also India has been growing formidably to the point where 10 years from now, maybe the gap between Europe and India will be like half of the gap between Europe and the US. Like, how crazy would that be? How crazy would that be? And so Europe has really been getting poorer. And if they don't do something about it, they're going to wake up one day and they're going to be old. Everybody is going to be old, depressed, uh, fantasizing about the former selves, fantasizing about the 1990s or the early 2000s or the colonial periods or whatever, and not have anything to show for it. Like maybe a good church, the Duomo, the Roman ruins, but it's gonna be that. It's gonna be history. It's gonna be old things. It's gonna be the past. And Europe already lives off the past somewhat, but it's still pretty good in the present, you know? And it's going to be interesting and fascinating and also absolutely terrifying to see it pretty much grow into a um, undeveloped country, undeveloped continent. I hope it doesn't happen. Europe still has time to change. There's still some very good countries in Europe that have made some very good decisions. Denmark is one. Uh, Poland, Hungary, uh, Switzerland, obviously, even though starting the EU, Ireland, Luxembourg. The Netherlands is a little better. But the big three, Italy, France, and Germany, they're truly worrisome. They're truly worrisome. And we'll see what the future holds.